the Halloween box. For the sake of my sanity, let's call me Kevin. This story is about the biggest mistake I ever made. A mistake that started on Halloween night and ended with something far worse than I could have ever imagined. It was Halloween, and I was bored out of my mind. My friends had all gone to a party, but I wasn't in the mood for that. Instead, I found myself scrolling through the internet, looking for something to kill time. I've always been into creepy stuff, urban legends, horror movies, that kind of thing. So I decided to see what I could find on the deep web. I'd heard all the warnings about it, but curiosity got the best of me. I figured it was just another corner of the internet, nothing to really worry about. I spent hours browsing random forums and websites, most of them just as dull and disappointing as the surface web. But then, I stumbled onto a site that caught my attention. It was called the Halloween box, and it looked like some kind of online auction. The site was basic, almost retro, with a simple black background and orange text, like someone had thrown it together in the early 2000s and never updated it. The description at the top of the page read, "Bid at your own risk. The Halloween box is not for the faint of heart. Once purchased, it cannot be returned or exchanged. You have been warned." Most of the items up for bid were typical Halloween junk costumes, decorations, some old horror VHS tapes, but there was one item that stood out: a plain, unmarked wooden box. The bidding was set to start at $10, which seemed crazy low compared to the other items that were going for hundreds. I don't know what possessed me, but I decided to place a bid. I figured it was just some kind of prank, maybe a fake haunted box or something. I didn't think I'd actually win. But I did. The next day, I got an email confirming that I had won the auction. It gave me a P.O. box to send my payment to cash only, no checks or cards. That should have been my first red flag, but I was too intrigued to back out. I sent the money and waited. About a week later, the box arrived at my doorstep, packed in a plain brown package with no return address. The box itself was nothing special, just an old wooden box, maybe a foot long and half as wide. It looked handmade, with rough edges and no markings at all. It was heavier than I expected though, and when I shook it, I could hear something rattling inside. I'll be honest, I hesitated before opening it. There was something about the box that made me uneasy, like it was holding a secret I wasn't supposed to uncover. But curiosity got the better of me, so I grabbed a knife and pried it open. Inside, there was a single item, a small, antique-looking key tied to a faded piece of parchment. The parchment had something written on it in spidery, old-fashioned handwriting. "Unlock the truth. Beware the consequence." I turned the key over in my hands, trying to figure out what it might unlock, but there was nothing else in the box, just that key and the warning. I was disappointed at first, thinking it was just some kind of elaborate joke. But then things started to happen. That night, I couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I felt like I was being watched, like something was lurking in the shadows of my room. I kept hearing strange noises, soft whispers, the creak of floorboards, and once, the unmistakable sound of something heavy dragging across the floor. But when I turned on the light, the room was empty. The next day, I started seeing things out of the corner of my eye, shadows that didn't belong, fleeting glimpses of movement just beyond my peripheral vision. At first, I thought it was just my mind playing tricks on me. But then I started finding things out of place. Objects moved, doors left open that I was sure I had closed. I tried to ignore it, but the unease only grew. I couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong, that the key had unlocked something I couldn't see, something that was now following me. I decided to do some research, trying to find any information about the Halloween box or the key, but there was nothing. The website had disappeared, and no matter how deep I searched, I couldn't find a single mention of it. That's when the dream started. Every night, I dreamed of a dark, endless corridor lined with doors. In the dream, I'm holding the key, and I know I have to unlock one of the doors, but I don't know which one. I walk down the corridor, trying the key in every door I pass, but none of them open. The longer I walk, the more I feel like something is chasing me, something I can't see but can sense, a presence that grows closer with every step. The worst part is, the dream feels real. Too real. I wake up drenched in sweat, my heart pounding, convinced that whatever was in the dream is still there, watching me from the shadows. And each time I wake up, I find the key somewhere near me, on my nightstand, on the floor, once even tucked under my pillow, even though I'm sure I locked it away before going to bed. It's been weeks now, and I can barely sleep. The dreams are getting worse, the presence more palpable, like it's closing in on me. And the key, I can't get rid of it. I've tried everything, burning it, burying it, even throwing it in the river, but it always comes back, appearing in my house as if it never left. I don't know what to do anymore. I'm terrified of what will happen if I don't figure out what the key unlocks. But I'm even more terrified of what will happen if I do. Whatever I unleashed when I opened that box, it's not going to stop until it gets what it wants. And I'm starting to think that what it wants is me. So if you ever come across something on the deep web that seems too good or too strange to be true, do yourself a favor and leave it alone. Because some doors aren't meant to be unlocked, and some secrets should stay buried,